Hello, happy Wednesday everybody, and here we are again on a Wednesday, and you're watching me. We like that. Okay, we got a little bit again of a mixed bag tonight, and so we've got, what have we got? Some people I know be making mods, so I'll be talking about that. We got some video of someone that I know and one of the contributors to the show making a mod. We'll get there shortly. I've got a review of a couple of bits and bobs, and finally, towards the end of the show, I'm actually running my first competition, and it's a competition with a bit of a twist. And the twist is, it's in the twist, and you'll see. Right, okay, yeah. Let's have the titles, and then we'll come back and we'll waffle a bit. See you in a mo.
Joytech UK are proud sponsors of vapebetrayals.tv.
And there we go. There's the lovely titles with its blinging, flashing and shininess. Okay, so the first thing I want to have a chat about then is Mr. Simon Furlow has finally gotten around to converting his ZNA 50 to a DNA 40. And he was kind enough to tweet me a picture of it on Sunday. And here it is. There we go. It looks like a ZNA, you know, with a DNA 40 in it. Which is kind of what you expect, really. So, yeah, let's just get rid of that. So, yeah, well done, Mr. Furlow. That's a job well done, and I'm glad you finally got around to doing it. And I'm mixing my words up and getting them front to back. Something like that. Yeah, there we go. Actually, before I go any further as well, I want to give the Article 20 Totally Wicked Legal Challenger plug. I'm sure most of you are fully aware of what's going on there, and no doubt during the course of the show, you know, the links will be put into chat, you know, as have been the rest of this week. But I'll pop one in later. But yeah, we put it into towards the end of the show, like. But yeah, it's quite interesting. Let's have a quick look at chat here, and With Up 69 thinks we should have a VTTV chat meetup and vape thing at some point. That's an interesting idea. Don't know where though. That's the thing. I mean, isn't that kind of what Vape Fest was originally, sort of like? But yeah, where? A great idea though. Yeah, fair play. Yeah. So I'm just going to quickly go over what we're going to be covering tonight. So later on in the show, I will be taking a look at these little doohickeys for making coils, and having a chat about the Subtank Mini, which is a latest addition to my very growing Subtank family. 3 Subtanks and now a Mini. I haven't got a Nano yet, but maybe I will at some point. And as promised, we'll have a competition. So I think what we'll do first then, we'll play in Verey Bowring, as previously mentioned, the contributor to the show, was over the Christmas period building a second SX350 based mod. So he's kindly put together a bit of VT, and this is part 1. So we'll play part 1 in now, and we'll have part 2 next week. So this is about 10 minutes long, so sit back and enjoy, and I'll see you after this.
Hi there. Hope everybody's having a good new year. This will be my first video of the year, and it's about this sort of thing. Mod making. Now, I like Elric. He's just a SX350 version 1, so only 60 watt. But, dual battery. But he's kind of big. And I've got another board, so I thought I'd make a more streamlined version. Here you see we have the SX350. Now I'm going to remove the micro switch that it comes with, and I'm going to build a custom switch using copper. As you can see, I've already cut a couple of pieces of copper to the shape that I want. And I'll be using this to make a switch, but I'll show that. Now, boxes. Now, I like these boxes. I used to use these for my variable voltage mods. Unfortunately, they're not quite big enough to take the SX350 version 1 chip. But since I buy these in bulk, I used 2 of them and cut them so it'd be long enough for the chipset. Now you can see I've already drilled a hole for the button, I've already cut a hole for the screen, and if you notice I have recessed using a little router bit. I've recessed the top so that I can fit in a piece of perspex to protect the screen and make it waterproof. I've already cut out the side for the USB, including a hole for the light, and I also have some nice fibre optic that I can use to bring the light to the outside of the case. Now you'll notice I've sealed this together, and you'll notice there's screws holding it together. So I've filled the inside of that edge with epoxy resin so that the metal's covered and the screw heads are covered. And you notice I've also put in these 2 side panels, and also this side piece at the top for the USB. Now I've done this so that when I fit the board in, I can then attach this, which will hold the board in place. I'm using a Fat Daddy connector, which will just slot in the top nicely, and it's the same width incidentally as the case, just about. And as I say, I'll be taking this switch off, but yes, I have as I say, I made that plinth for the USB to sit on, so it's held nice and securely in place. And that's the basic build. As you can see, I've also made the back 2 part, and I've converted it so that I can slide the battery open separately. And that'll make a much more slimline device. So yes, making the copper switch. The premise is very simple. You have 2 pieces of pure copper, and you need them to sit together. Now, to make it to work as a switch, you need tape or any other thin material. I use tape because it's cheap and convenient. Just cut a piece of tape, what you do is you attach it to the copper. And the way I do it is I completely cover the copper, and then I use a scalpel blade just to cut a square in the centre. Then you remove the centre of the square, and what this is doing is making a tiny gap when you have two pieces of copper face to face. So the only place it'll be contacting is the centre. Now you can vary the sensitivity of these switches by making this layer thinner or thicker. The thinner the separation between the two copper sheets, the more sensitive the button. Fairly simple. I'll just so the next stage will be you wrap the whole outside of the switch, apart from the two tabs you're leaving to solder onto, and you just wrap electrical tape around the outside to hold the two pieces of copper. So I'll just get on with that and I'll get back to you. So here we see I've put the two pieces of copper together, held fairly loosely just with the electrical tape, and we can test to see if it works like a switch. So we continuity test. Hold the continuity test, and all I need to do as you can see, you then have an incredibly sensitive switch. Now, this of course will fit in the case where I've put the hole, but obviously I will need to have a cover that comes through the hole, and for that I'll just use these sticky back felt pads. So all I'll do is gently push that through the hole. I'm going to pop the whole thing out. There we go. Oh, it's not quite in the right place. Move that to the centre. Now it'll take more than one of these to be thick enough to go through the casing. So you just carefully glue one on top of the other.
So there we go, that's part one of Verey Bowring's Von Beck build. One question, VB. Why Von Beck? I'll just wait for that to go its chat and come back. I might be missing something. Why are you calling it Von Beck? There we go. So, yeah, chat was quite enthusiastically talking about 510 connectors, interestingly. Fat Daddy Vapes ones, because that's what Vereyb's using, and that's also what I used on my my attempt at modding over the Christmas period as well. So yeah, they're good connectors. Now, in keeping with this sort of theme, actually, I would... Sorry, I'm just keeping an eye on chat in case VB actually decides to answer my question. Yeah, Von Beck equals VB, maybe. That wasn't VB answering that. Anyway, yeah. Another on a theme, actually. I mean, if any of you would actually like to submit me even a photograph... you know, or a little write-up of a mod you built yourself. I mean, I'd be really interested in actually in featuring them on the show. Apparently, Von Beck is the Eternal Champion. So Elric is the first mod. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, but if you would be so good as to contact me on these details you see below me on your screen, you can either contact me at Cybernoid on Twitter or... matt.gerish@vaportrails.tv. And if you've got any photos, videos, or anything of a mod you built yourself, I'd be quite interested. Maybe start up a section called Viewers Mods or something. You know, it is definitely a part of vaping is modding. Gary Dibley, you know, as we see on a Tuesday night, he's an old hand at it, and you know, some refer to him as the mod father. But yeah, I'm very interested to see what you guys are making for yourselves. So, you know, inspiration and that sort of thing. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to take the ad break, and when we've done that, we'll come back with our first little review, shall we? See you in a mo.
Joytech UK are proud sponsors of vapetrails.tv.
Healthy Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and e-liquids. Proud sponsors of vaping entertainment on Vapor Trails TV.
Joytech UK are proud sponsors of vapetrails.tv.
And welcome back. During the breaks there, Verey Bowring answered in chat that they're characters from Michael Moorcock series of books. I'm not particularly familiar with Moorcock, so I don't know. Bizarrely, chat has started talking about foot sizes. And I'd like to remind people that this show really is geared more towards live chat than than anything else. So you really are missing out if you're not in the chat room while the show is on. But yeah, just for the record, chat, I've got size 13 feet, and I have to have shoes handmade from the finest in rare kayaks. Yeah, so there's been a few comments in chat as well about showing off mods. Someone that I forgot what it was now, scroll way by, has got so many handmade mods, so don't tempt him. I am tempting you. Get in touch. I'll feature them. Graham Gord's, apparently people are quite keen to see his giggle box. We've had Graham Gord's on the show before, so Graham, if you ever feel like coming back onto the show, you know, come on and show off your giggle box, whatever that may be. Okay. Right. Something's about giggity, apparently. Oh, I don't know. So, yeah, since I'm set up ready for it, let's have a look at these coiling doohickeys. Here we go. So, I've got a set of 3 here. And these are the Kuro Concepts CW thingamajigs. For technical terms tonight, aren't they? They really are. I think my lexicon is failing me this evening. Yeah, so they come in 3 sizes. We have here, the red one is a 25 or 2.5mm. We have the purple one, which is 3mm. And we have the blue one, which is 2mm. As you can guess, because it says 20, 30 and 25. So they're all essentially the same thing. So we'll just focus on the 30, shall we? I'll just pop these to one side now. So what you've got here is essentially it's like a pen, really, or a screwdriver. There's nothing really that fantastic about it, with some holes. So what you do is you have a little screw here, uses an Allen key, which I do have one to hand. Look at that, I'm almost prepared tonight. So you can pop that out, and you can put it in one of 2 positions. Now they're both labelled there 1 and 2 because there are 2 positions. Okay. So what you can do, if you've got a thicker gauge wire, you can move this screw over to the other side, and you can see that's further away from the central hole. Okay, so you move it further away from the shaft there to get your thicker gauge in. Okay, but for the thinner gauge, we put it closer to the shaft. Right, so what we do now is we get a length of wire, and this is 0.25mm wire. Or 0.2 or whatever. And you'll see here there's a hole. Okay. Now that in turn leads out. Let's put it on the camera, Matt. Well done. That just leads out this top here and the side of the shaft. Okay. So all we do is just feed that through, and this is so simple to use. It really is. It's quite good fun. So we just put it through, and we just trap this part with our thumb. Okay. Now all we need to do is just give this one single wrap around there. And then we get our top cap, for want of a better word. And what we do is, whilst not putting too much pressure on the top, don't press it in. I've made that mistake a few times, and you end up just lapping your coil over the top of each other. So just give it a few twists. He says nothing goes flying because I've got too much stuff around me. So, as you can see, I'm just twisting it. I'm not putting too much pressure to, I'm not pushing it together. I'm just holding it in place and twisting it. I'm not going for any real, this is a demonstration. So I'm just going to wind a good old big coil on it. It's just to show you guys what this can actually do. As you can see, it is moving away there from the, from itself. I'm just seeing in chat there, Monster Rob says that his set came with both screws, not just the one. So did mine, but I've taken one out and put it to one side as a spare. Because you only use one, don't we? So there we go. As you can see, I've wound the coil. And you can also see there that I've pushed a bit too tight in one place because it's not quite even at the top. Because probably I was looking over there at chat. What you do there, you just sort of twist this out. And there we go. You got yourself a coil. I'm tempted to get another piece of wire actually. This does work quite well with NI200 wire as it happens. let's just get myself some. So here we have some NI200 wire, 29 gauge or 0.3 for us over in the UK. And I'm just going to wire myself some of this off. Okay, so got myself a length of it there. Let's put that spool over to one side. So, yeah, as before, just feed it through that hole here. Okay, we give it one turn. It would have helped if I did that on camera, but never mind, we'll carry on. And just pop that down. I might have this a bit too long, but there we go. And you can see there I pushed it in a bit too tight. It's a bit tricky doing this on camera, but you get the idea, okay? When I'm not doing it on camera, it does work a lot better, to be fair. So there we go. There we have a coil. So what you can do after that, you know, if you can put it on the other way round and you can neaten it up, what have you. Now, as you're probably aware, I've always gone on about when you're doing with nickel wire not to have the coils touching. So what you can do here, you just put your thumb on one end of it and sort of spring it out. So I'd just like to point out I'm actually doing this about an arm's length away from me, so it's a bit fiddly. But yeah, this is not a very good demonstration, to be honest. It's quite poor. I might do another one in a minute just to try and make amends. But you can put it apart and make it spaced out. So let's get another length of canfol. I promise you, it does work okay with nickel. I wound a coil on it the other day. So what have we got here? That's ribbon wire. That's no good. There we are. Let's do it one more time. So I shan't make the wire quite so long this time that I'm actually using. I'll make it a more realistic length. So again, this is 0.25 canfol. I'll just grab myself a piece of this. There we go. Pop that to one side. Right. There we go. So I've got a more realistic length of wire here. So, as again, we just feed it through. Put this on. Now, I was trying not to make a pig's ear of it. So, gently just wind it round. So, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, alright. So there we go. Now if I stop things rolling off, right. I'll just unbend this part here. And ever so gingerly remove it. And there we go. You've got a fairly decent microcoil there. You can put it on your atomizer, give it a little squeeze together, heat it up. You know the drill. So yeah, there we are. Right, that's enough of the close yappy stuff. Back to me again. Yeah. So these are starting to show up in various online shops throughout the UK and over Europe and whatever. Getting quite thirsty. Yeah. So as I say, you can buy them individually or you can buy them as a set of 3. And I bought them as a set of 3, simply because it's not much more expensive to buy the whole set. So there's a similar product as well called the Coil Master, which I've not used. But yeah, as far as I can tell, they work much the same way. But For Neil Rolfe asked in chat, these are the Curo Concepts coil jigs or coil winders. I'm not entirely sure. Oh, I'm throwing things. I'm getting clumsy. I'm getting clumsy. But yeah, they're quite good. I mean, I'm used to winding coils by hand, and it's not really a problem for me. But for someone that's maybe new to rebuilding, or someone that maybe doesn't quite have full motion in their hands, you know, and struggles with gripping a coil, I can see these being very, you know, someone might have arthritis in their hands, but they really want to wind a coil. These are ideal for it. So if you know someone that is either struggling to build a coil, or someone that doesn't have full use of their hands, you know, and does struggle somewhat, really, really recommend them for them. Yeah, you know, they're a great product, and they can help a lot of people out. I mean, I've used them a fair bit in the last week or so since I've had them, just simply to, you know, I've put some coils on natties, and once you know I'm going to turn that 6 times, it's going to come out the same every time, so you get a nice uniform coil. Yeah, so it's good. There we go. So I'll just have a quick skimmy through chat here. Lots of double entendres going on. Something I like our chat. I mean, our chat is normally very clean. So, I'm undecided whether to go to the adverts right now or have a little waffle for a bit, then go to the adverts and we get on to the next review. Okay, there's some DNA 40 chat going on now. I always have a bit of DNA 40 chat. Blaze is asking, ZNA better than RDNA 40? Or have I got folks mixed up again? Right, okay. I don't think there is a ZNA with a DNA 40 in it yet, officially. Could be wrong. I haven't checked for a while. But last I was aware there wasn't. So all the ZNAs that everyone's seeing on VTTV are basically ZNA clones that we've gotten hold of, and we put genuine DNA 40 boards in. And the RDNA 40 is a VaporShark product. They're going to both vape exactly the same. I always put both the same thing out because it's the same board, okay? I'd like to point out as well, on the subject of the clone issue with the ZNAs, Zen himself, the creator of the ZNA, did actually come out and say, I've got no problem with these clones at all. Chiefly because the one thing the ZNA features is he's trying to promote a new standard of atomizer adapter, which can be seen if I was to remove the 510 connector from this mod. If I can, because I haven't done it for a long time. It might have fused. Go on, Bennett! Yeah, I don't think that's coming off anytime soon. Get some towel. And if that doesn't work, the vape grips. Yeah, that ain't budging. Okay, fine. But basically, you can take off the 510 connector, and there's sort of a... You can buy some... I think there's a Z1 thread or something he calls them. Yeah, I'll have to tackle that at some point, won't I? I've not actually taken that 510 connector off for ages. And it still works as far as I'm aware. Simon is in chat. Hello, Simon. I don't know if you were in earlier, but well done on your mod. He's going to build another mod from the ZNA board he took out. Oh, I don't have a battery in that. So there we are. Yeah. Time for the rubber gloves, Matt. We don't need rubber gloves. We've got the vape grips. Let's give it a go with a vape grip, shall we? It's about time you saw one of these in use. Don't know if Chainmaker's in chat. Chainmaker, if you are in chat, he's the person that makes these things. Get hold of him. Nah, that's not shifting even with them. Oh dear. I'll look at that later on. You don't want to be sitting there watching me struggle with this thing on air, do you? Apparently, Verey Bowring says that there's some SX temperature control chips coming out in March in large quantities, from what he's heard. Okay. Speaking of which, actually, tomorrow night, Dave Dawn on the Haze Hour is going to be looking at a clone DNA 40. And the results may surprise you, or they may not. You'll have to watch, and you'll see. So there we go. Anyway, let's take the ads, and we'll get on with more reviewing type things.
Joytech UK are proud sponsors of vapetrails.tv.
Often imitated, never duplicated. Award-winning service and products from cloud9vaping.co.uk.
Vapers, do you love discovering new e-liquids? Tell Dripper the types of flavours you like and they'll send you 5 gourmet juices each month. Experience new and exclusive flavours, all with a money-back guarantee and free delivery anywhere in Europe. Dripper.co.uk.
What's in this e-cig cloud? Harmless water vapour, right? Pretty much, yes. Compared to a lit cigarette, it's much safer than smoke. But it contains nicotine, and nicotine on its own isn't toxic and doesn't cause cancer. If you're worried about switching to vapour, here are some facts. No tar, no smoke, no burnt tobacco. Cooking your evening meal produces more toxins than are found in exhaled vapour. Tobacco smoke contains toxins at very high levels, and vapour does not. And that vapour contains 6,000 times less carcinogens than cigarette smoke. Electronic cigarette vapour. There's nothing to be frightened of. The only dangerous electronic cigarette is a banned one.
Joytech UK are proud sponsors of vapetrails.tv.
Hello, and we're back. Lots of chat about me nuking my ZNA from orbit. Oh, I like my ZNA. It's nice and happy, and it's got a DNA 40 in it. That's me trying to be cute. Yeah, right. Okay then, so let's move on to the Subtank Mini. Some of you may be aware I like Subtanks. I got 3 Subtanks. They're very nice, and they're very happy, and I like them. Yeah. And now they've just come out with the Subtank Mini, which has all the same features of the Subtank Biggie. We call it the Biggie, yeah. Or the Chubby. Or... no. Yeah, so it's got all the same features. It uses the same OCC heads, and it uses an RBA section. It's a different RBA section to the 25mm version, but it's an RBA section nonetheless. Now, I'm going to do this kind of in reverse. And the reason why is because I've got a build on here and I'm really, really happy with it. And at some point, I'm going to have to destroy this build. Yeah. Or at least not take it apart. And it may not go back together the way I want it to. So I'm going to do it backwards. So, yeah. At the moment, I've got the RBA head in. and that's 80% VG juice. And I've got this coiled up with Ni200 wire. Funnily enough, using the Curo coiler. I did this one the other day. On Sunday, actually, during Dave's tackle box. I was sitting here coiling away. And yeah, and it's coming out at 0.18 ohms. And I've got it set for 25 watts, yep. And it produces the vapour. And it produces the vapour very, very well. Now, let's compare that to a standard Subtank with an OCC head. Now, this is the very same OCC head on the very first Subtank I got, which you saw me unwrap live on air before Christmas. And I've not changed the head in this. And it's nearly on its way out now. So that's the 0.5 ohm the 0.5 ohm head, and again at 25 watts. And here we have the Subtank standard with the RBA head, again with Ni200 wire in it, and this is at 0.11 ohms and again at 25 watts. So, what is apparent then is the draw on the original Subtank with the OCC head is actually area fully open than the draw on the original Subtank with the RBA head with the air holes fully open. Okay, the air intake on the RBA restricts it somewhat more than the air intake on the bottom of the OCC coil. And we've got 80% VG in all of these, okay? That is a tighter draw. However, with the RBA head on the Subtank Mini, the draw is comparably the same as the OCC head on the full size, okay? So, if I were to, and I've got it here somewhere, there we are. Here is an OCC head. I took out the Subtank Mini. It's got the same juice on it, so I kept it to one side. Now, one thing I like about the Subtank Mini over the full size is on the full size, if you're going to change it between OCC or RBA mode, you need to get a screwdriver, undo 2 screws on the top, pop the top cap off, pop a different one on with a shorter centre post for the airflow, and then pop the rebuilder head in. Now, of course, whilst doing that, you need to have this empty, otherwise your juice is going to go everywhere. Now, with the Mini, you don't need to worry. So, all I've got to do is take off the bottom section, pop this to one side, taking care not to spill it over. I can then remove, and it's a very, very juicy thing, so I'll use some kitchen towel. I can then remove the RBA head. And we'll see this in close-up in a minute because I want to show something in comparison to the original. So pop that to one side in its very juicy fashion. And then we get the OCC head. And we just pop that on camera. Pop that back on. I'll keep an eye on the time because there will be a competition. So there we have the OCC head, and I didn't have to lose any juice. So that's superb. Okay. Of course, the other big difference is the Mini is a 22mm atomizer, whilst the full size is 25. So I kept the wattage on here, and it's going to ask me if it's a new coil. Well, it doesn't matter because temperature control is not going to happen on this anyway. And that's with the 0.5 ohm stock coil. And fairly obviously the same juice. So yeah, that's basically that. Let's get ourselves to closey uppy, shall we? Yeah, there we go. And just in case you missed it, there's my little Gerber multi-tool. It seems to be getting a little fan base. I don't know. I don't think it's quite rivaling stunty yet, mine, but you know, we'll work on it. So what I want to show you now is the airflow on this. As you can see, I've got it fully open, and that is basically a big slot. Now here's the airflow on the original. That's That's 2 holes open. And that's it fully open. Okay. So that's just for comparison. You can see the size difference as well. There we go. So, you know, the Mini is, by comparison to the original Mini, just take the box to one side for a minute. We'll look in the box in a moment. But yeah, you can spin the airflow control, and it locks into place quite nicely. So there we can see it's fully locked off. Ideal if you just want to store it or whatever. You know, you don't want to run the risk of any juice leaking out. There it is with one air hole, which I've never used with one air hole. I've got to be honest. And there it is with 2 air holes, and then we go around again, and we get it fully open. Okay, so that's basically that. We'll have a quick look inside. There's not a great deal to see. We've got a spring-loaded 510 connector in here. It's not spring-loaded so much as it's more got a bit of give in it, as opposed to the original one was more spring-loaded. Yeah, but since I've got it almost apart, I'm not going to put this down all of a sudden. So there we go. You know, if you've seen a bottom core clear miser before, then you kind of know what to expect with these. So let's just put that to one side. Now, what we're really interested in here is this is the RBA section from the original Subtank, and here is the RBA section from the Mini, and you can see right away the size difference. Now, curiosity being, well, it's not my middle name, but it might as well be. I thought, oh, can I pop this in with when I've got the OCC chimney on the original Subtank? And yes, you can. The problem you've got is the chimney protrudes quite a way inside this tank and pretty much touches that coil. So I really wouldn't recommend it because you're going to run the risk of a short. So the answer really is, in all intents and purposes, no, you can't use the RBA section from this with the original Subtank. Your mileage may vary, but yeah, it's a bit iffy. So what we got here then, we've got an RBA head which I've been using for the best part of a month. And this is kind of following on from Marco's show last night. Best part of a month with a citrus-based juice in it. Actually, an orange base. So there we go. And you can see the coils are pretty clean. This is because these are nickel coils, so they don't gunk up. I don't find them gunk up very very quickly. There we go. Some tweezers. There we are. I just want to move this wick to one side a little bit, because what we're interested in here is the insulator. Okay, and you can see here. I don't know if I've got anything a bit more proddy. Oh, there you know. I knew there's a pin around here somewhere. Right. Well, it's not a pin. It's a metal rod, but we can see. And I can prod that, and that's as solid as you like. Okay. So, as far as I'm concerned, for the juices I vape, the original insulator on the original Subtank is fine for me. But obviously, if you're going to use juices that are perhaps a little more corrosive, then your mileage will be a bit different, of course. And I know Marco's wasn't sure on his video last night, but these parts are actually 2 separate parts. You can pop this part out independently of this part as well. So yeah, I just wanted to show you guys the original one there, so keep that in mind. But on the Mini, they do have they have changed the insulation material. So let's just wipe this off a bit, because it is very, very juicy. And you can see the juice it's leaving on that paper there, can't you? So again, this is in 3 parts. So we can take off the top part of the chimney. There we go. And you can see it's quite reduced air hole in the air hole chamber. That's what I was looking for. Now this can be a bit tricky, because you've got a very, very small amount of metal there. So it's actually tricky to grip, but it's one of those weird threads that if you put too much force on it, you're not going to undo. But if you're quite light with it, you'll have better experience. Now I'll just put my proddy thing down somewhere, haven't I? Oh, we'll carry on without it. Okay, but what you can see here, I hope you can see because the focus isn't going to be great. But the insulation material on this is actually semi-transparent. Now what they've done, they've changed it to a PEEK material. Okay, so whereas previously it was a silicone, which was the reason it was causing some issues with the with some juices, and the reason that Kangar are going to be issuing some replacements to vendors to send out to customers that purchase the original. But they've changed it now to a PEEK material, so that's more resilient to juices. But I have to be honest, I would still exercise caution when it came to, say, for example, Pluid. I know that stuff is famed for its corrosive properties. So anyway, it's not for the Koshapi stuff for the moment. But in a moment we'll have a look at the in the contents of the box. Like I said, we're doing this all back to front because yeah, I'm probably gonna have to at least rewick that. Where did I put the thing? There it is. I'm going to at least have to rewick it. So let's pop it back on here then, because I want to continue vaping it because it is a very, very nice thing to vape. So you can see there on my vapor flask, it fits. You know, it's 22mm, so it fits flush all the way up there. So for those of you that were putting off buying a Subtank because of the size, well, the 22mm is kind of the answer to that. Anyway, let's have a look in the box, shall we? Because you get some goodies. Right, so it's much like the original box. So you get, it's nicely presented. It's nicely put together. Presented, that's it. So you slide that out there, and first off the bat, you get a warning. Okay, to say that you should prime your coil first, which is very good advice because that's cotton, and if you haven't seen what happens to cotton when you don't keep it wet, I might do a video on it one day. You've got a fairly comprehensive user's manual. Okay, so that's good. It shows you the ins and outs there. You've got a genuine authenticity cardy thing, and underneath here, of course, your atomizers would sit here. Underneath here, we get some spare O-rings, the infamous blue screwdriver, some spare coils. In fact, the original coil that came on the rebuildable head is in here somewhere. I popped it in. You also get a little baggie of Japanese cotton. We get a 1.2 ohm OCC head, and we get a spare glass tank. So that's all very good. It's a good bargain, really. You know, you get everything you need to keep you going for a little while. So you know, that's great. And we all know my views on the Subtank. It's a great device for someone that's curious about sub-ohm, or even if you don't want to use sub-ohm, they provide a 1.2 ohm cotton coil as well for those that aren't interested in sub-ohm or don't have a device that's capable of it. Unfortunately, it still doesn't have a warning on there about using it on batteries that are suitable for the task, but there we go. Anyway, so as is per usual with review items, I did purchase this with my own money, and I got this from srvapes.co.uk. SR-vapes, and it cost me 24 quid, and delivery was free, so I thought, yeah, why not, let's give it a go. So yeah, if you've been hanging on buying a Subtank, get that one. Right, so we're running a bit low on time now, so I need to crack on with this competition. So let's get that there ready. Now the competition is to win an SVD. Now, some of you guys in chat may not be that interested, and that's fine. But some everyone else, this might be their first foray into, you know, into a variable wattage / variable voltage device. So there we go. There's SVD. It's telescopic mod, so you can put an 18350, 18500, or 18650 battery in. And as you can see, it comes fully boxed, and it's got a little manual in there. So there we go. So that's up for grabs. Now, what do you need to do to win this, you ask? Well, here's the fun bit. It's a bit different. I'm not making an easy question or anything. We're going to have a bit of fun. what I've got here is a sheet of paper. Okay. Now, on that sheet of paper are 4 pieces of wire. Now, I want chat, and I'll give it about a minute. I want chat to choose a piece of wire. Number 1 being the top one, number 4 being the bottom one. I want chat, the majority there. Pick a number. So, go. Yes, it's an SVD one. And if no one in chat picks a number, I'll pick one for them. And then once we got that far... No, we don't drive to Bridgend and mug me, because that won't win the comp. Come on, pick a number. Any number. Number 3, number 2, number 3, number 3, number 3, number 3, number 4. Okay, a couple more. No, not number 6, Costello. There isn't a number 6. Right, number 3. It is number 3. Okay, so number 3 is... Now, I'm not going to tell you what this wire is, okay? But I'm going to pull it off. Well, I'm not going to pull it off. I'm going to snip it off. There. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to get ourselves back to close Yuppie Cam. And I'm going to get myself, and I'm not going to define what size this is, okay? And I'm going to wind a coil. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I've done 5 complete turns. Okay, it's not going to be a coil used for vaping. This is, and this will become apparent in a moment. Now I'm going to get myself a dripper deck. Okay. And I'm going to attach this. It's going to be messy, but that's not the point of this. No, it's not a neatest coil competition, okay? So let's just pop that in there. Okay, so that's what we've got. It ain't pretty and it's not conventional. So what you guys have to do is you have to guess the ohms of that atomizer. Okay, so we've got 2 weeks, and I should have checked this first. Let me just pull up a calendar. Right, 2 weeks. When's the closing date for this competition? Let's say on the 17th, Tuesday the 17th of February 2015, at midnight is the closing date. And what you guys need to do, you need to send an email to competition, beg pardon, you need to send an email to matt.gerish@vaportrails.tv, and in the subject you put the word ohm, O-H-M, and then what you reckon the ohmage is. Okay? So if you reckon it's a 2.0 ohm coil, then that's what you put. You'll put in ohm 2.0. Okay? Any entries that don't adhere to that will be disqualified, and any entries after the closing date on midnight that day will be disqualified. And to add to it, where's my Vapor Shark gone? Right, okay, my RDNA 40 is going to be the device that measures this coil. And the reason that is because this could be Ni200 wire, or it could be Canfol, or it could be nichrome. Okay, I haven't disclosed that, so you guys need to put a guess in. So basically, the closest person wins. If 2 people guess the same ohmage and it's the closest, then I'll put that into random.org. Okay, so that's basically it. Just send an email to, let's bring it up again, to matt.gerish@vaportrails.tv with the subject of ohm and the answer, and that's it. That's all you got to do, and that will win you an SVD one. Okay, I know it's not much, but hey, it's come out of my collection and it's something that I figured I don't use it very much anymore. Someone else might want it, so I am essentially giving it away to someone that can get some use out of it. Anyway, we're up to time now, so I'm going to play you guys out with the coming up next, and don't forget to tune in tomorrow night for the Haze Hour of Mr. Dawn. See you next week.
RY4 Radio.
Joytech UK are proud sponsors of vapetrails.tv.